Hi guys, this is Lashad from Scarlet Moon Creations, and this is me doing the Black Booktuber tag video. So this tag was created by Mariam over at Reading Black. That's Reading BLK. Do go up and check their channel out. I put a link down to the original tag video down in the description below. So they created this tag early this year, I think during Black History Month in February. It got really popular a couple of months ago, and I definitely wanted to do it, but July is super busy for me video wise with One Book July, and I was doing weekly vlogs and as well. It's just too many videos and not enough time. So, but I'm finally doing this. I'm actually glad I waited a bit because I feel like I have better answers than the ones I came up with off the top of my head to each prompt. But this is a really cool tag, and if you are a Black booktuber and you haven't done this, I would love to watch it. I've enjoyed every single one I've seen. So let's get into the prompts. Also, FYI, it is summertime here in New York City. I have my window open. It's cool enough, no fan on in the background, but I'm on the first floor, so you might hear ambient noises like people walking by talking, cars driving past, and music. So, with that, the first prompt is tell us a bit about yourself. I am Lachette. That is my actual name. Scarlet Moon Creations is the name of my business, my Etsy shop. I am Black, a New Yorker, Latinx, uh, Puerto Rican to be specific, and I am also a witch, which is why my channel is not just book content. As much as I love reading, the other things you'll find on here are planning, bullet journaling specific videos, other journaling videos such as a divination journal or spiritual journaling, and I do read tarot and oracle cards, so I've been talking about that more lately, doing spread reviews and deck impressions and walkthroughs. What else is on my channel? I do weekly vlogs. They're not reading vlogs, though I do talk about whatever I'm reading currently within those vlogs, because I'm always reading something. I'm a big music fan, and particularly hip hop, R&B, and K-pop. Though I'm a fan of a lot of other genres. Those are just the ones that I listen to the most, I guess. So yeah, huge K-pop fan. Yes, BTS, but also like Big Bang. I love current groups like Red Velvet and G-Friend and Monster X. Older groups, I mentioned Big Bang. There's Super Junior, 21. Even mentioning that name and thinking about them makes me sad. Dongbon Shinki or TVXQ Toho Shinki, if you're a fan of Japanese stuff. I also like anime and manga. Let's see. Oh, also on my channel, I do talk about general witchcraft things, particularly green witch stuff. I have a whole video explaining green witchcraft and what that means to me. And to boil it down, I, work with plants magically and spiritually, as well as mundanely, just having them around the house and having a garden and My Etsy shop, which you can get a discount code in my description box below for being a follower if you wish, is Scarlet Moon Creations, and I sell the things that I make. Green skincare and green witchcraft products, so oils and body butters and baths, like bath salts, bath soaks, scrubs, and incense, and my tarot and oracle readings as well. So that's me. Next prompt: who's a black author you love that a lot of people don't know about? So I have two. Um, and first I want to talk about L.A. Banks. She has a series, The Vampire Huntress, and it's like kind of black Buffy, and I love this series. It's about Damali Richards, who is like the chosen one, but it's not, a carbon copy with a colored in Buffy. Basically, it's a good series. The first one is this Minion. It's not the best writing, but it's good. AAVE is heavily used, not always properly. I think Banks took some artistic license, but this was the first urban fantasy series by a black author I had ever come across, and I still love it. It gets better as you go. There are 13 books, and it's heavily influenced by Western African culture and spirituality. So do check it out. L.A. Banks passed away in 2011, I think. At the time, I did not know that. I found out a year or two ago. She has another series that she started. I believe it's set in New Orleans, and it's another urban fantasy, more paranormal romance though. It's more heavy on werewolves and vampires, I think. There are vampires in this. Obviously, she's a vampire huntress, but it's not quite the same. So yeah, that other series, I'm not really mentioning it because one, I don't remember the name, and two, it's incomplete because she passed away. This health issues, unfortunately. But yeah. Well, the second author I want to mention is a friend of mine, actually, and that is Nigel Henry. He's got two series on Amazon Kindle, as he's an indie author, so check them out. My favorite of the two is Ria's and Her Monsters. This is a YA urban fantasy series set in New York City. We follow Ria Miller, who is a teenager, and she hunts monsters with her parents. It's the family business, but it's a secret business. Ria and her family live in Brooklyn, and she is going to a new school in Harlem. I don't remember the reason why though. But anyway, so Ria is fighting monsters of all kinds, like trolls and werewolves, and at the same time getting used to a new school and new people, trying to make friends, get good grades, things like that. And it's fun and fast-paced and interesting, so do check it out if that sounds up your alley. The other series he has is The Demons of Sedona, and this is more an adult fantasy series, and we follow this kid and his girlfriend Vera. What is the kid's name though? Tobin, sorry. So we follow Tobin and Vera, who are just trying to stay alive. They live in this world where the undead demons take over the night, and so people go about their business during the day and then lock themselves up in their home as the demons come out at night. Tobin's father is some type of tradesman, so Tobin often goes on trips with his father, and they travel, and they have to travel outdoors at night sometimes, so they do deal with the demons occasionally. And the story starts out when Vera, his girlfriend, goes on a trip with them, and they find out that in another town the demons have started attacking and killing people during the day when they're not expecting it. So it's kind of a zombie apocalypse, but it's set in a kind of feudalistic time. So I don't even know why that was necessary. So it's set in a feudalistic time and setting. So they're, on farms and things like that. There are no really big cities. It was really interesting. So do check out Nigel Henry. Now, the next prompt: favorite book about the Black experience. Now, I think this is my favorite question because the Black experience is varied. So everyone gives a different response. And I personally don't read very many books about the Black experience. One, because I feel like I'm living the Black experience, and so are my family and friends. So I'd rather get those stories from real people. And sometimes the Black experience is not a happy one. What publishing likes to promote is a very traumatic Black experience. So, that being said, with a little thought, I found something good and interesting. To me, that both two books that count as favorites, because Black experience books, the ones that I do and have read that are, speaking of it, are not generally favorites, but I can honestly say that one, The People Could Fly, is a favorite book about the Black experience. This is a compilation by Virginia Hamilton of Black American folklore. I didn't know that we had this, and a couple of these I've heard. So there's things like Brer Rabbit in here, and John Henry, but there's a ton of others. I think there's like 20 to 30 stories in here, and the book itself is named after one particular story, the last one, called The People Could Fly. A lot of these, the majority of these, are from slavery times. Everything is not happy and joyful, but it's not all trauma and depressing either. I'd say it's a good mix of both. Like, what these people are going through, and these are the stories that they told to each other, some to keep the culture from where they were stolen from. The illustrated version I really enjoyed as well. I read this like a year or two ago, and I really need to get my own copy because it's really good. The other book I want to mention is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I think this was the first Black American classic book that I read that I enjoyed. We're following a woman who's basically trying to figure out who she is and what her life is like. It's really interesting. This is during segregation. Um, so there's definitely black trauma in here. In particular, there is black woman trauma in here, and it's unfortunately very relatable. But she travels around, she gets married. There's a look at how black families' culture is, how the culture of the neighborhoods are depending on where you are in the United States, and um, there's a black spiritual aspect to it as well. And I always liked this character whose name I'm forgetting, so I'll put it on the screen here. But I always liked this book, and I loved the movie as well. I think Halle Berry did a good job. And I was super excited when I saw it was being made into a movie. So, next prompt. Favorite book by a black author, hands down, no thought needed to be put into this. That would be Let's Talk About Love by Claire Cotton, my favorite book from last year. This is a contemporary new adult novel. We're following Alice, who is asexual and a black woman trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. She is a fun, bright, joyful personality. She comes from a pretty well-off family. They're not rich or wealthy, but they're solid middle class in a world where middle class is disappearing. And she's like, her two best friends have fallen in love and they are focused on each other, and she has just had a breakup and she doesn't know what she wants to major in college and what she wants to do with her life. And she's grappling with that in a very somewhat lighthearted but still real way, and I just loved the character and identified with her a lot. So it just brings a smile to my face every time I even think about this book. Next, recommend a black and queer book. So obviously Let's Talk About Love fits this prompt as well, but I didn't want to have books overlap. So a recent read, thankfully, we can talk about The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I literally finished this like a week or two ago, and this is a sci-fi fantasy series, fantasy sci-fi. We're we're in a dystopian world where the earth breaks up and basically destroys everything in a pretty regular basis. So people are ready to run to create new communities because the earth is not their friend. And this is following for the most part, Esun, who, in the just before an earthquake happens, finds out that walks into her home and finds her dead son, who was killed by her husband, and her other child, her daughter, is now missing. So she goes on a mission to find them, her husband and her daughter, and as consequences, we find out what's going on with the world. There is a really earth-based magic system in here, which is really interesting to slowly just watch it slowly unfold. I felt ignorant in the first 100 pages of reading this, but once you get used to it, it's like, okay, I know what's happening. There is multiple perspectives. One perspective is second person, which I'm not used to and a lot of people don't like, but it works in here. And yes, there is queer rep in here. There, you'll just have to see. But this is really well written. Prompt 6. Recommend a book by a black author that makes you happy. Again, Let's Talk About Love can fit this prompt as well. But another recent read, Rafe by Rebecca Weatherspoon. The full title is Rafe, a Buff Male Nanny by Rebecca Weatherspoon. I am so happy I finally read a Rebecca Weatherspoon romance because I am down to read them all now. This is about Sloane, who is a black woman who's relatively young, became a heart surgeon, a successful one, and she has two young daughters from a previous marriage. She is in dire need of a nanny, and Rafe, our buff male nanny, is has just found out that the family he was working for is moving to Australia, and while he's thinking about if he still wants to be a nanny because he's been one for most of his working life, uh, he hears about Sloane's emergency and comes to be her live-in nanny, and the relationship explodes immediately. The sexual tension, the chemistry, it's all there, and it's all good. I enjoyed everything about this. My only complaint was that it wasn't long enough. I wanted more. I wanted to see everything laid out on the table, the relationships between Sloane and Rafe, and then the relationships between Rafe and Sloane's daughters. I really enjoyed it, so check it out. Recommend a book with a black person on the cover. So, I got two, because these are beautiful covers. We'll start with The Bells by Danielle Clayton. This is a fantasy series, which I need to read the second book of, but the cover is gorgeous, and I think somehow I edited out. This was the most beautiful book cover that I read last year. I just, ugh. And the second book that I want to say here is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I am becoming a huge fan of Elizabeth Acevedo. She is a Latinx, Afro-Latinx author, and she writes about Afro-Latinx characters, and here we have one on the cover looking amazing. So, prompt number 8, recommend some black booktubers. I'm going to recommend three, because I could be here all day. Starting out with Tori Morrow. This is she mostly reads science fiction and fantasy, and particularly science fiction. I do get a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Recommendations from her, things that I think I would like, and she's just a bright spot in my YouTube feed, so do check her out. Then I will mention Brittany from Melanin Eclectic. Brittany does, like me, more than just bookish content. She also has journaling content and studio vlogs, because she makes journaling stickers and layout packs and stuff like that for her own Etsy shop. And she does lifestyle stuff, so like makeup and hair videos too. And I just I like her vibe and her broad reading, so check her out. And last but not least, Mina Reads is a new favorite of mine. I'm getting a lot of current romance recommendations from her because I'm trying to like be more current in my romance reading and not just reading the authors I've been reading for over a decade now. I like Mina's forthrightness and how she expresses herself and her absolute joy for reading. Like, what's not to like? So, do check them out. Prompt 9. Talk about a book by a black author that's coming in 2020. This was hard. Um, I have not. I think I meant to talk about this in the beginning. I have not purposefully, before last year, looked for books by black authors in the genres and tropes and things that I liked. So I've been consciously doing that for the past year and a half, 2 years. And with that being said, I didn't have a lot to choose from for these prompts. I, especially outside of like classic literature. So coming up with the answer for this was difficult because there's not many authors that I found that are writing so much that I'm aware of when their next book is going to come out. But I looked at my Goodreads for some that I heard about from other booktubers that sounded interesting, and I have them on my TBR list. And I realized the next Ikweke Emezi book is coming out literally next month. The Death of Vivek Oji. I'm not sure am I pronouncing that properly. I am not Nigerian, so correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. But I read Pet earlier this year, and I recently read Freshwater, which I didn't love, but I didn't hate. It's closer, but I really enjoy. I not enjoy it because that was another thing. It's not a happy book, but it's a good one, and it's enough that I want to read more Ikweke Emezi. This book that's coming out, The Death of Vivek Oji, is another adult novel, whereas Pet was a young adult one. So, and considering the summary, it's probably not going to be a happy book. Vivek Oji, The Death of Vivek Oji is about a woman, a Nigerian woman, whose son dies. His body is put on her doorstep, and the aftermath of her life from there. It sounds interesting. I want to read it. I don't know if I'll read it this year, but that is a book by a black author that's coming later this year. And tag some black booktubers. I feel like every black booktuber that I know or have heard of has done this prompt. So I don't know who to tag. But I will say this, if you're watching this, if you're black, if you're a booktuber or bookstagrammer or book vlogger, honestly, and you want to do this tag, do this tag. I will tag Tori Morrow because I don't think they've done it. But, and maybe the novel Lush. I don't think she's done it either. But that might be because she doesn't really have the time or the setup to do so. But I'll tag them anyway. And yeah, so if you're seeing this, consider yourself tagged. Do let me know down in the description if you do it. Let me know what you think. Any of these books sound good to you? I hope to maybe someday do this tag again, maybe in a year or two when I have more books to talk about by black authors. I want to broaden my reading And I'm happy that Booktube has opened my eyes to the fact that there are more auth- books by Black people that are not just trauma porn, Black experience, um, and that I have access to books by Black authors that are not American. So thanks so much for watching. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new here and you want to see more bookish content or any of the other content I mentioned in the beginning of my video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.